What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. Today is our Theorypalooza, all about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let's jump right in. I do think this show is going to be all about Sam kind of accepting that mantle of being the new Captain America, what Steve has asked him to do. And I think it could wrap up with him finally donning that Captain America uniform we've seen in the comics. And that's all before he goes back to the big screen as Captain America, which is going to be awesome. And I know that Kevin Feige has recently said there's no plans for a season 2 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but he never said there were no plans for a Captain America and the Winter Soldier season. So we know Disney Plus's shows are going to be kind of here and there. He said there's no real plans to ever have multiple seasons. It's just stories that need to be told to, push the narrative. But I definitely think we could see another season with Sam and Bucky. This is going to be called something a little different. And I do believe this show is going to start off with Ross and the government not wanting Sam to be Captain America because he has not signed the Sokovian Accords.
I totally agree with you, Keith. I think that if anybody is going to want to control some of the other Avengers, it's going to be the guy that is known in the comics and already in the MCU as wanting to control superpowered individuals like the Hulk, like the other Avengers. And yeah, I think it's going to come down to the fact that because Sam, as of yet, has not signed the Sokovia Accords that we know of. Could have been something that happened off screen, could have been something that happened in between, events of the movies, or maybe even in this show. But yeah, I totally agree with the fact that they're not going to want him to take on the mantle of Captain America. If you remember in Avengers Infinity War, when he comes walking in, the hologram of Thunderbolt Ross says, "Arrest him." And I think that's going to carry over into this show.
Doug and Keith, as far as that character goes, I'm going to reel that in. Dave reels it in. I'm going to reel it in because Thunderbolt Ross is not listed in any cast that has been published. So he's not confirmed. It's still, I'm not saying it won't happen, but as of this point, we have no proof that he's even on the show. So this is what we do know for sure. We have 6 episodes, so I think that the plot will play out a little quicker and we won't have a lot of twists and turns or many surprises. We know the confirmed cast is Zemo, Carly Morgenthau, the Falcon, Sarah Wilson, which is Sam's sister, John Walker, Bucky, Sharon Carter, Batroc, and there's 2 cast members who are listed as actors on the show but don't have roles, and they are Desmond Chiam, I hope I'm saying that right, and Miki Ishiwaka. One of the members, interestingly enough, according to IMDb, is named the Latvian Fan. So that is going to lead me to believe that the Flag Smashers Latvian background will play a factor, which I'll get into in my theory in just a moment.
You might be onto something there, Dave. That could very well be that they're going to use the comic background of the Flag Smashers. I think that'd be, of the Flag Smasher, sorry. And you should definitely, those of you who haven't seen it yet, you should watch our video. We'll be putting it up there. Definitely watch our video for a little bit more information on the Flag Smasher, aka in this show, the Flag Smashers. But yeah, I really think you're onto something there, Dave. And I hope that they kind of get into that. It'd be cool if they dove a little bit more into like the lore from the comics of Latvia, and if a certain someone was mentioned.
Doom, perhaps?
But I don't want you to have to reel that in.
Yeah, well, they don't list cameos, or maybe they'll just name drop. This obviously isn't going to be his big vehicle. They probably just name drop him as their leader.
I think there's a very good chance that we may get a name drop for Dr. Doom, but they may do it a little differently. They may call him, if it is actually a Latvian citizen, they may call him the Master, because I knew they do this in the comics, especially starting with John's Byrne run on the Fantastic Four. He kind of flipped it around from him being this fascist, kicks his people into the ground, as someone who was such a great leader and so well liked by his people because he kept them fed. He kept the economy running. I mean, Latveria was a model of how country should run, even though Dr. Doom was evil and did all this stuff.
Unbelievable. There's a war being waged all around this place, yet here it's...
Yes, Doom has created an idyllic society. Idyllic? Maybe. But isn't that the promise of every fascist?
Your attention, please.
his country was thriving. So that very well could be played out in the name drop. I don't want to say cameo.
I think Thanos would have been a huge fan of him if that's the case. If they really do go with that iteration of Doctor Doom where he's keeping all of his people fed and
Your planet was on the brink of collapse. I'm the one who stopped that. Do you know what's happened since then? The children born have known nothing but full bellies and clear skies. It's a paradise.
Because you murdered half the planet.
A small price to pay for salvation.
I think, what if Thanos is a Latvian fan?
No, it's a little girl, but nice try. But
what are you gonna crush all my dreams, Dave? God.
I'm sorry, that's what I'm here to do now.
He could be using the reality stone to appear as a little girl, Dave.
Yeah, Dave.
Or he could be a demon sent by Mephisto. You never know, man.
You
Or it
think
could
Mephisto's
be
going to be in this too?
Satan.
Yes!
Oh yeah, Wanda's gonna be in this too.
Right, Wanda's gonna be in it too.
This is where the white Vision went to. He went out to help here so he could learn a little bit more about himself.
It turns out this isn't even the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's literally just WandaVision season 2. They're just doing it early.
While we're talking about cameos, I actually have who I think will actually cameo in this. And it's when they're going to be in Madripoor. I think we're going to see Ogun. Who's Ogun? He trained Wolverine, Logan. He trained Kate Pryde or Kitty Pryde, whatever you want to call her, in the ways of this. And why I think that is because Murphy's Multiverse actually had a photo from the set of some of the crew wearing a jacket with a demon head on the back that looked very similar to the masks he wears in the comics. So I think this would be a good way, since he's not a mutant, he just trains some of the mutants, he has ties, he's mutant adjacent. I think it's very possible we may see him in some aspect in Madripoor when they're all there. And I think that'd be a very interesting route, because then we could have all these Theorypaloozas and what's next videos about how, you know, Wolverine is going to show up, Kitty Pryde, and all the X-Men. So that's going to be a very interesting way to go if that's the way they do go with it.
Yeah, and I can't even reel that in, although I want to. I want to reel in Omega Red as well. But with having the cast members that are already hired, not showing what roles they're in, that could be their roles. So very well, maybe onto something.
And then the other one who I think could possibly cameo, and you could probably see it up here, we did an in focus on Simon Williams and the Grim Reaper. But the reason I think he could show up here is because in the comics, Zemo did give him his powers, and he asked him to join the Masters of Evil against the Avengers. And at the end of that arc, Simon Williams sees that they are not the good guys of the story. They're actually evil, and he turns against them, saves the Avengers basically against Zemo and the Masters of Evil, and then ends up kind of dying. So I think this could be a good route to bring him in. We're pretty sure that there's going to be someone powering up individuals, because we did see that commercial with the androids, aliens, and wizards comment. So there's a very good chance that we are going to see superpowered humans. Why not Simon Williams? Why not bring in Wonder Man? He's a fan favorite. Let's get him in the MCU, Kevin Feige. We know you're out there watching. Bring him on in.
Hey, and speaking of superpowered individuals, I think this is the perfect time to bring up another thing that we were discussing, talking about, kind of theorizing, if you will. It's almost as if this was a Theorypalooza. But one of the things that we were discussing is this idea of superpowers making their way into this. Now, if you watched any of our other videos where we were talking about Captain America and the Winter Soldier, again, links up in the top. If you're watching into those other videos, we kind of mentioned this one is probably going to be more of a grounded series where, you know, you've got your WandaVisions where they're a little bit more fantastical, but then Falcon and the Winter Soldier is probably going to be a little bit more grounded with the type of villains, going to be more, you know, terrorist-y or something like that. But that doesn't mean that there will not be any sort of superpowers. And I think this is where they're going to bring up one of the long-standing issues that have always popped up, not only in Marvel Comics, but it's also popped up a lot in past Marvel animated shows as well. And that's the idea of the super soldier formula. And we've heard this mentioned multiple times, going back to Avengers, where it was brought up that the Hawk, for instance, was one of the individuals trying to perfect the super soldier formula.
So this Dr. Banner was trying to replicate the serum they used on me?
A lot of people were. You were the world's first superhero. Banner thought gamma radiation might hold the key to unlocking Erskine's original formula.
Didn't really go his way, did it?
Not so much.
I think that's going to make its way back into the series again. I don't know who exactly will be responsible. I think, this is my theory, I think someone related to the US government is going to be working on or close to perfecting the super soldier formula, and that's what's going to be given to John Walker, the US agent. And I think that's what's going to give him his edge over some of these other people that he may be facing up against in order to get him to become the next Captain America.
I think you're absolutely right, Doug. I talked about it a minute ago about the androids, aliens, and wizards TV spot where we hear Sam say, these guys use brute force. They are strong, too strong. And I know a lot of people are thinking this is hinting at the power broker, but I don't think they're going to introduce a new character for this when they already have somebody they can use, Arnim Zola.
I must congratulate you, Arnim. Your designs do not disappoint, though they may require some slight reinforcement.
The exchange is stable. Amazing. The energy we have just collected, it could power my designs. All my designs. This will change the war.
Dr. Zola, this will change the world.
I think he's coming back. You know, this series has a lot of Winter Soldier vibes, which Arnim Zola played a role in. And I think they're going to bring him back working with Zemo to perfect that super soldier serum. And I think they've perfected it. And I think they're going to use it to try to control some of these superpowered beings. And we know that, you know, Arnim Zola in the comics, he was a Swiss biochemist during World War II who became one of the first human genetic engineers in history after finding papers and equipment used by the offshoot race of humanity known as the Deviants. Where have we heard that term before? Yes, they're going to be the big bad in Eternals coming out in November. So I think we're going to have that tie-in possibly in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because we know it all is together. All, you know, everything works together. And I think we're going to have that tie-in here. We're going to get a little hint at the Eternals way before November 6th.
I'm just going to go ahead and reel all that in because we don't have any proof of Zola. It's a great theory. We don't have any proof that Zola is going to be on the show or anything else. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to reel it in.
Fishing pole, grill it in. Work, hold on. It's me and my friends. Go, bud. Work, you know what I'm saying?
And so now that Fun Smasher is done, you know, in one of these experiments that he actually does, after Onslaught, when the Avengers were destroyed and X-Men and Fantastic Four were pretty much all gone, Arnim Zola was collecting people from the rubble of New York City and testing on them. And one of those experiments turned into Jolt, who you might know from the Thunderbolts. And what do we think is going to happen during this series? That's right, we think that General Ross and Zemo are going to form the Thunderbolts as an answer to the Avengers, as a Sokovian Accords friendly super team. So I think they're going to change it up a little bit from the actual comics, but I do think we are going to find Zola getting these superpower beings ready for Baron Zemo and his master plan. He is going to be going along with Ross, but he is going to have this offshoot of what he really wants to do, and it's collecting these superpowered beings so he can stop all of the superheroes in the world, like we saw in the commercial.
That makes me think of Batroc. Batroc is an interesting character to me because in the comics, he's been known to start a mission, and if he didn't agree with it at the end, he would switch sides and help the right side that he felt was honorable. So I think at some point, he's going to be kind of stuck in a position where Zemo will forcibly make him help with his army, whatever he calls it, the Thunderbolts, or if it's not going to be the Masters of Evil, whatever it turns out to be in this iteration. And I think somewhere along the line, he's going to kidnap maybe the U.S. agent. And when the Falcon and Winter Soldier come to save him, he actually switched sides and goes against Zemo. And Zemo gets away in the end. That's my theory.
I'm sorry, Dave, are you saying that they're not going to use the perfectly reasonable name of the Masters of Evil in a very grounded television series like this? I mean, come on.
I don't see it.
More trustworthy than a group of folks who call themselves the Masters of Evil.
Or they could go with ultimatum, which I don't even want to remember what that stood for. But that leads me into my second theory about the flag smashers. And then Carly Morgenthau, I think it's going to play out the same way it did in the comics, but you know, like her father is killed at the Latvian embassy, and she decides that borders are no longer needed because she felt as if Latvia looked down upon her nation. They felt superior. And I think that's going to be the main arc of this story. And whatever goes on with Zemo, like during any skirmish that they're going to have with the flag smashers, Zemo will take that time to escape and form his masters of evil or whatever they are. And at the end, like the scenario I just suggested, maybe he escapes then. And then we got a reoccurring villain who can go through the movies and the TV shows.
I do think you're onto something, Dave, but I don't necessarily think that he is going to come off as evil right away. I think he is going to have this plan underway where it looks like the Thunderbolts are the heroes that save the day. You know, I talked about the onslaught thing earlier after it looked like he destroyed all of the heroes. You know, Zemo put together the Thunderbolts to look like the good guys, the saviors, the new Avengers, to kind of help him take over the world in the end. And I think that's how they may handle it this time too. He'll be working with Thunderbolt Ross, but deep down, he is going to be wanting to take this team and do what he needs to do. And the reason that may work, everyone is going to be kind of joining up and doing what they think is right. The Avengers are almost broken up now. I don't think we really know who is part of the Avengers now.
Come on, there's got to be someone else you can use. What about Thor?
Off-world.
Okay, Doctor Strange.
Unavailable.
Captain Marvel.
Don't invoke her name.
And Zemo is going to use that to bring out the Thunderbolts and be like your new superhero team who's going to keep you safe. And we may even get, you know, a Thunderbolts Disney Plus show coming out of this. Now, who's going to be a part of the Thunderbolts? We did a whole Theorypalooza on it. Look at it right up there right now for you guys. Check it out. It's a good video. And I think that may come into fruition by the end of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
The last thing that I want to mention is more of I'm putting another theory to rest, or at least I'm going to try to. So Dave, I'm going to borrow your segment, your Dave reels it in. This is going to be Doug reeling it in. And this is based off of, yes, I know I'm doing it again. I went back and I was rewatching way too many MCU movies. You know, someone's got to cancel my Disney Plus subscription because I'm doing this too much. But I was watching Endgame and I noticed something towards the end as Captain America is getting ready to go and put all of the Infinity Stones back. And don't worry, this is not going to be an Infinity Stone theory. Not today, maybe later. But I noticed that Bucky really was saying goodbye to Cap as if he knew that he was going to be gone for a long time. Like he's giving him a hug. They're telling each other they're going to miss each other. And then when everybody's freaking out, when Captain America doesn't come right back, after 5 seconds later, Bucky is the only one who isn't freaking out. He's kind of standing there with a little grin on his face. And that's because, here's my theory, I think he actually knew. I think he knew what Cap was planning. I think he knew that Steve was going to pass on the mantle of Captain America to Sam. So the theory that I want to put to bed and what I want to reel in is what I've been reading a lot on the internet lately is they think in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, one of the things that they're going to be bickering about, that Sam and Bucky are going to be fighting about constantly, is this idea of who should take over the role of Captain America. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think that's going to really show up in the series at all. I think that Sam already knows that he's supposed to take on the role of Captain America. And I think Bucky already knew that that's what Cap wanted as well.
Doug, I think you're absolutely right here, because I do think a lot of what we may see with Bucky in this series is him dealing with all that he did as a Hydra agent. He murdered a lot of people, including, Tony Stark's parents, which we saw in Captain America Civil War. So I think he's going to have a lot of guilt. And I feel like Bucky is going to have a lot of self-doubt that he could ever live up to the Captain America of the MCU. So I don't think it is going to be a contest between them. And I do think that scene where we kind of see them working together is Bucky helping Sam. And I do think during this, I think Bucky is going to finally work through some of this. And I think he's going to be more of a leader within the MCU, whether he takes over the Thunderbolts at some point, like he did in the comics, or he becomes a leader for the Avengers in a new movie. But I think, it could be interesting how both of their paths kind of go after this show.
Now, before we go, I just want to give a huge shout out to Rod from the channel just Rican and his comics, and everybody else that joined in on his live stream. Now, if you want to check out more about what he does, we've got a link down in the comments below. Make sure you head over there.
But that's what we think. What do you guys think? Leave it in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time at Not Your Status Quo.